Hey, welcome to Some Film Snobs. I'm Jacob Ramos,
I'm Sean Reinhardt.
and this is gonna be a more serious video, right, Sean?
Yeah, it's a little more serious.
We just really felt the need to talk about Game of Thrones season 8 and the reaction towards the ending by fans.
Note
Uh,
that this isn't really a review, it's just more of a discussion about, people, you know, reacting to this the way they are. Stuff like that.
yeah, like
Because it's childish.
it is, and we're not gonna talk about anything specific, but I may like say some vague things about thoughts on the season, just to address some strawmans that may be thrown at us.
Well,
It's
first of
it's
all,
main. Hmm?
I should just say this real quick. I just started watching the show recently. I'm only on season 2, so Jacob's a little more familiar with this than I am.
Well, yeah, I've read all the books. I've rewatched the series multiple times.
Yeah. So I feel like he's a million
And
times more qualified to talk about this than I am. But
yeah,
I do have some thoughts about mainly the cultural impact of everything.
if you guys are interested in our thoughts on Game of Thrones seasons 8 or just all the entire show as a whole, we want to have a more formal discussion about it. So rather than a Red Snob type video by just one of us, so
Yeah.
we're gonna wait till Sean finishes the show and then we'll do a video about it. Also, we want to wait till all this mess dies down and we can actually get some level-headed opinions out there.
Which by the time I'm done, it will definitely be
Yeah.
dead.
I think I'll begin with just addressing my thoughts personally on the season, and I'm gonna be as vague as possible, even though I know, Sean, you know some of the spoilers.
Yeah, it was
Uh,
inevitable that I'd run into them, so I was just kind of like, fuck it.
I really like the final episode. I really actually love the ending, but I think that episodes 3, 4, and 5 could have been done better, and they just rushed it along a little bit. And not rushed in terms of production or any of the actual technical work that went into it. I mean rushed in terms of the story needed more time to breathe, and
Yeah,
characters just needed a few more episodes, a few more moments in order for the audience to buy certain character decisions. And I will admit it was a little disappointing of a final season, but I genuinely think that the ending was satisfying. Yeah, I'm not here to defend any of the choices that were made, but I am here to defend the creators because this is the main thing that me and Sean got into a discussion about that we felt we needed to talk about, which was just the childish nature of people harassing these directors, these actors, making petitions to remake the season, like calling them idiots and lazy
right.
and worst show ever. And it's just
I
like,
mean, this kind of thing goes back as far as film, as a whole, but it seems to be, I would say since the Star Wars prequels, it's been getting worse. Mostly because, the internet exists.
it's the internet, yeah.
I was saying to Jacob about the prequels, like, you have to think, like, by this point, there's thousands of people working on this kind of stuff. Like, there's more jobs in
Yeah,
the film industry
exactly.
than I think people imagine. Imagine just working on, like, a huge epic, let's say, like, The Last Jedi, and...
Yeah, that's one thing we'll get to, I think.
Yeah.
Here's one thing I'll address as well. So one of the common things people are saying, one of the common points that's brought up against David and Dan, the two showrunners,
Yeah.
is that, oh, these dimwits wrote like X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Wait, did they?
They did.
Oh,
but,
shit.
But I want to say this though. Okay, they wrote X-Men Origins Wolverine, but then they also wrote 7 amazing seasons of Game of Thrones. And here's what I want to say to you, Sean. Like, is it not true that both you and I and Matt have made some shitty short films
Yes.
in the past?
We've made a
Yes.
lot of shit.
Yes, does that not mean that we can't learn from it? That we can't improve upon our work in the past?
Yeah, exactly. I
If
make
that
jokes
logic
about my
was-
horrible short films all the time.
Yeah, and if you're just hold to the standard of the past for your whole life, then what the hell's the point of going forward?
Yeah.
It's like the whole Kevin Hart thing. Like, the dude tweeted this stuff a decade ago, and you're judging his modern day character based on that. And it's the exact same thing with judging these guys' filmmaking credentials.
It kind of reminds me of the whole James Gunn thing, and what a
Obviously, it's slightly different. I mean,
yeah, but
we're just talking about the context of time and people changing.
also just mob mentality, because that is
Exactly. Yeah.
something.
It's judging people's character based and their credentials based on things that happened years ago.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous. I think we should get into season 8 and The Last Jedi in terms of like this sort of
Yeah.
mob mentality. Like, I'm genuinely fearful, dude. Like, about any creative person, whether it be a musician, an artist, or director
Yeah.
of films.
The
It's
Last
just
Jedi situation was one of those things where I've never been more confused in my life. If that makes any sense. Like,
yeah. So like, I wanna say this. So you put yourself in the shoes of Ryan Johnson or David and Dan. Do you think when these guys sit down and write out these scripts that they want it to be terrible?
obviously not.
When you create something, if any of you out there are in an artistic field, and you're not just in it for the shits and ghouls, and you actually care about what you're doing, you know that when you create anything, you're putting all you got into it. You're putting your whole life into it, and when anyone else sees it, it's basically just a window into your soul. And
Yeah.
I don't know, and just to know that, like,
Well, just,
that
you also
any
just,
one of us could make something popular one day, and if people don't like it, they'll just harass me for the rest of my life. Like, I wouldn't wish upon any creator what has happened to Dave and Dan and Ryan Johnson.
and it doesn't just happen necessarily to like writers or directors. It happens to producers, actors. I think of like Hayden Christensen and Ahmed Best. There we go. It was Ahmed Best. It got so bad for Ahmed Best. He had a hard time getting jobs, acting jobs, from what I understand, and he actually almost committed suicide.
I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure a similar thing happened to Jake Lloyd as well.
Oh yeah. So I don't think
Like, everyone make fun of him.
many realize this kind of mentality does kind of fuck a person up.
I mentioned this to you. Like, people, they invest too much in fiction.
They
Like,
really do.
overall. And yes, I understand that when they make these movies and stuff, they want to evoke a feeling out of you when you and want your investment in the story. I get all that.
That's the whole point of storytelling. Is to,
Yes, exactly. It's like we're me and Sean both, we're studying to become filmmakers, for fuck's sake. Like, we love stories, but it
Yeah.
reaches a point where you make your enjoyment of this content such an integral part of your identity that you feel personally attacked when it's not really good, and you feel the need to
Yeah.
harass the people who didn't meet your standards of what
Which
you
is why
thought
Star
it
Wars is
should
the way
be.
it is.
Yeah.
Like, if you really think about it, I think Jay from Red Letter Media said this. The original Star Wars trilogy were just really good summer blockbusters that are really beloved by a lot of people. Be it blew out of proportion, and everybody has made it so that it has to meet that standard, and nothing has been able to meet that standard because people's standards are too high.
It's like like Mike also, and also bringing back Red Alert Media. He says it's like a cult nowadays.
It
like
is.
with the amount of
It really is.
people you get, all the like how he puts it, you get all the 40-year-old fat men who like go to these conventions, and that's not to say all the crazy Star Wars fans are just 40-year-old fat dudes, but it's just saying this ridiculous like cult mentality,
Yeah.
that people have towards these franchises. And their immediacy to attack the people who don't satisfy them, like as if they're kings or something.
And then when they get pissed off, they sit on their computer and make 5 videos a day, just for a person breathing, or like something like that.
Yeah, and I know Ryan Johnson got it just as bad, but I've like seen multiple channels like making like 10 videos a day about Game of Thrones season 8 gonna be terrible. These fucking idiot writers, and there's another video series where like they constantly call them Dumb and Dumber in like every title, and it's like,
Yeah. And I'm not
Jesus,
gonna call
dude.
anybody out specifically,
Yeah, I'm not gonna call anyone out
but
specifically either, but Jesus, like just imagine you or these guys, like when you wrote this, I highly doubt they intended to make it unsatisfying. And like, do they deserve being name called by the thousands and harassed forever?
I'm not gonna lie, I used to have a lot of fucking, like, I used to be, like, way too invested into this shit, too, and I used to get all emotional and pissed off, but then, I grew the fuck up. Yeah, it's basically that. I still have, like, the way Ryan Johnson reacted to The Last Jedi, I don't really endorse, attacking
Yeah, I don't
fans, but I
endorse
also
it.
don't endorse fans attacking creatives either. It's
Yeah,
a
it goes
stupid
both
war
ways.
that doesn't need to exist.
It goes both ways, yes. And like art isn't a democracy. Like if you want to write your own story and have the ending that you wanted, go write your own story.
Yeah.
Like it's not up to them to give you what you want. They are mainly creating this because they love the characters and they felt that people would enjoy what they made. It's not because, oh, you like this, now I'm gonna change it for you. No, it's not about that. It's about, I wanted to get this message across, and if you don't like it, that's fine.
It's
Right. It's just, yeah.
There's a mob mentality for everything now, and it's flat out ridiculous. At this point, it's becoming cartoonish.
This makes me want to like tone down us like now. Like not in terms of like, we're gonna obviously be just as critical, but like maybe turn down maybe like some of the mean-spirited stuff
Yeah,
towards the actors and stuff.
because I'm starting to feel like we're adding to that.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, now
like,
after
I know,
having this conversation,
I think we did okay with like the Captain Marvel stuff. Like, yeah, we had the mahogany joke, but I think otherwise we said that we don't care about the political stuff. We're not here to attack Brie Larson's character. We're
that's
just
also
gonna mainly talk
one
about
thing.
this film.
That's also one
And
thing I
how
want
it
to
was just
clarify
okay.
too, is that we've always been kind of memers in a sense, and all
Yeah.
this stuff is very meme-worthy. So that's why I think we come across as too harsh a lot of the times, and really it's the
Yeah.
other way around.
Yes, most of our reviews are of bigger films, but we mainly do care about smaller films, to be honest.
Yeah.
And all the stuff that we talk about like the repetitiveness of these big budget movies, it's all just because we want better big budget movies.
Yeah.
We don't think lesser of big budget films. It's just,
Yeah.
it's undeniable that the quality of them.
You don't think lesser of any
is-
films, really.
Yeah, it's just, we think because of the commercial aspect of it, just the quality has taken a hit.
Yeah.
And I love big budget stuff. Like I own all the Game of Thrones books. I own every season of it, and
Yeah.
so
You're gonna get that giant box set they're gonna eventually do.
probably, yeah.
Yeah.
But we want more.
It's not an
refresh-
attack. It's never an attack.
Yeah, we've never attacked anyone in our reviews. We've just made lighthearted jokes, but like it reaches another level when you're making multiple videos a day about two writers who just did their best to try to end this show.
Hopefully
Well,
I
yeah,
explained that well.
We wanted to make this video because all creators like should know that it doesn't matter what everyone else thinks in the end. Just make it for you.
Make the thing you want to make, and
Yeah.
even if we do have criticism, it's really just for your benefit,
Yes, exactly.
and not a lot of critics are like that anymore. They never really do it for benefit.
Everyone. Well, it's more so that everyone is a critic nowadays. Everyone
Yeah.
who's never created anything in their life
I have
has
an
their own
IMDb
armchair
account, and
opinion.
I'm a professional reviewer. Sure,
Exactly.
sure.
And sure, like we just made our own YouTube channel and like started reviewing shit, but
We do it for fun, we're not professionals.
Yeah, exactly. We're doing it for fun, and we try to pay respect to the filmmakers.
Why do you think we made the Halloween special?
Exactly, yeah. So we don't respect all this like harassment and mean-spirited nature towards filmmakers because we are filmmakers, and it like you say your piece, you say, "Hey, I thought it was pretty good. It could have been improved here and here," and that's it. Like that's it. You said your piece on what you thought about it. That's cool, but like when you spend hours and hours a day, making it a personal vendetta that you do not like these people now, and you're calling them names and spreading hate about them.
Yeah.
All because they made one piece of content that you didn't deem worthy of the fans. And you make one review, you make a few tweets, and you give constructive feedback, and that's it. That's all that's needed.
Like, just in general, like when we did our Endgame review, like I would say we all liked it, maybe even loved it. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
loved it, and yeah, we're gonna give our criticisms to that. We're gonna there's always something you can give a criticism to, but it's always for
Exactly, yeah.
the benefit of them.
And
I'm
I
not.
think it's a little lost though nowadays with it's like there's no level-headedness anymore, I feel,
Yeah,
because of the internet.
people just tend to base their opinions to also off other people, and that also creates a mob. And
Season 8 obviously could have been better. Last Jedi obviously could have been better. I'm not gonna say that we're making this because I love those films and I disagree with all the backlash. I mean, I disagree with the harassment mainly and
yeah,
the ridiculousness that this has gotten to rather than constructive criticism. I just hope that any creative people out there that may be listening or watching can know that honestly there is reason to fear this sort of backlash, but don't. And just make your movie, make your music, make your art, just make it for you and those that you care about.
basically be Tommy Wiseau.
Yeah, exactly. Be Tommy Wiseau. Don't give a fuck.
Which is why and people like Ed Wood, which is why I appreciate them so much, because they just did whatever they wanted, and even though
And I think that's the perfect
yeah,
example too. I actually like that you brought up Tommy Wiseau and Ed Wood because both the premise of Ed Wood and Disaster Artist is to show that yes, these guys they're not the most talented, but they never intended for their art to be bad, and they didn't want people to attack it and criticize them the way they did. It's just they did it because they loved it,
yeah, exactly,
and I think that's a good way to end this video.
yeah. So do what you want. Don't take the criticism to heart. Take it as a way to help
To
you
learn,
to
yeah.
learn.
To end on a less somber note, if you stuck around, here's a little tease. Obviously, me and Sean will eventually review Game of Thrones once it's died down. And also, coming very soon is me and Matt. We just saw John Wick 3 and can expect that pretty soon.
This has
This
been
has been Some Film Snobs.
Sean Reinert.
I'm Jacob Ramos.